Hey everybody, welcome back to Hobby Sauce. Today, in this video, I'm going to show you a battle report on Universal Battle for Kings of War. Let's get saucy. Hobby Sauce. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hobby Sauce. This is a channel that's devoted to Kings of War, showing you how to make the best terrain and have the best battle reports to you, but it's not possible if you don't like the video below. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and think about hitting that bell so that you don't miss any content. But let's get into it. All right, so this week, I released a video right here that showed you how to do Universal Battle. It's a client that allows you to play war games, including Kings of War, online. And now I want to show you what it looks like to play on that. So I have one of my friends, Tom Annis, on with me today, and we're going to show you a game in Universal Battle. Let's get saucy. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, excited. It's the first Universal Battle report on Hobby Sauce. We have Tom of Dojo fame here with us.
That's right.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Tom.
Sure. I have only recently got into wargaming, about 2 years now. I was just on the Countercharge Basilean Army Review episode. But today I'll be playing Undead just to mix it up a little bit and try out some of the CoK19 formations and items.
That's kind of the opposite of Basileia right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Undead instead of paladins there. No, that's pretty cool. CoK19 has a lot of cool new things in Undead. You're bringing the Army of Darkness, is that right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah, I have about 60 Mantic skeletons sitting in my closet, so I figured now would be a good time to try out a list with that formation. It looks pretty good.
Sweet. No, I'm excited. I thought that was one of the unsung heroes of the new expansion that has some pretty nasty stuff. +5 to surge, +5 to heal. Looks nasty.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And +5 to Bane Chant too, which is why I put in the skeleton archers with the idea being you could Bane Chant them the first 2 turns or so and get some piercing shooting. So
Bane Chant 7, I don't think there's much of a chance for failure there. I don't know what it is. I don't think we have to math it out though. Right. Everybody, just so y'all know, Tom and I see each other at tournaments quite a bit, but we live about 3-4 hours away from each other, so it's not easy to get a game. Universal Battle is a great way for us to play when we're just at home on a Monday night. You know, pretty exciting. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into the lists and show you the game. All right, let's get this party started. Moving into CoK19, this is the Ogre unit. I took just a little bit of everything, kind of similar to the list that I took, but just before, but just a little bit different. So we have Warrior Chariot Horde right there with the Brew of Sharpness. We have 2 Hunter Hordes. One of them has the Dragon Shard Shield, and one of them is naked. We got 2 Boomers who are naked. We got 2 Warlocks with Drain Life. We have Nombergok, or Namambergok, or I think Jesse calls him Nom Nom. We'll just go with Nom Nom. He is pretty cool. He has a Heal 3 and Bane Chant 2, but he has the Warlock ability. So whenever he's near a horde of ogres, he gets +1 to any spell. So I'm hoping to maybe get some Bane Chants on him, on these Boomers to give him Pierce 2. He also gives something vicious in melee. If he gets a good casting on it, I can heal. He's just an all-around cool guy, and he inspires too. He's a steal at 140 points. I've taken 2 Goblin Shooter Regiments. I realized I took everything in the Hunter formation, but didn't take the formation, so what do you know? And then I took 2 Mammoths with the Ballista. Mammoths now have Strider, woohoo! But they also got Steady Aim, which means that they can move and shoot and not take penalties. They also have +1 nerve, so they have a 18 nerve and they're fearless, so they're dash 18. Mammoths are a beast now. They're nasty. This is Tom's list. Tom took some of the new Undead informations here. So he took the Army of Darkness, and the Army of Darkness are 2 skeleton warrior hordes and a necromancer
They all gain Iron Resolve, and the Necromancer gets a +5 to any spell that he uses targeting friendly skeletons. So that's pretty exciting. He can get Bane Chant 7 maybe on these archers. He can also heal very well and surge very far. And then everything has Iron Resolve, so it'll make him a little bit more resilient. He's taken 2 regiments of wights, those are the blue guys over here, and then 2 zombie troll hordes. He has 3 Balefire catapults, which are indirect catapults, blast shots, lots of piercing. He has the Revenant King on a horse right here, and that is equipped with Guiding Light, which will give a +1 for any war machines for 1 turn. He casts it on a unit, and then any war machine targeting that unit gets a +1 to hit. With that indirect fire Balefire catapult, that should be exciting. And then he has a Revenant King on Worm over here. He has Hex, which is a new spell. You get 2 attempts, you cast it on enemy casters, and if you're successful on the enemy caster, it will hurt them the next turn. Anytime they get a successful hit with one of their spells, they take a wound, so that's nasty. He's also taken Mortibris. This is not a new character. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with him or not, though, so I'll go ahead and let you know. Mortibris gets a lot of different things. He gets Bane Chant, he gets Heal, he gets Lightning Bolt, he gets Regeneration, he has Surge, he has Life Leech, he has Stealthy, but the cool thing about him, the thing that makes him very good, is any unit within 6 inches of Mortibris is stealthy. So a lot of my shooting that's going to come in is going to be at negatives. So let's get this party started and see the battle. This is the terrain setup we have here. Just so you know, these are forest. We count those as height 5. The fields are height 1, rough. The hills are height 2. This is a lake, we call that flat, so you don't get terrain cover for it unless you're inside it. If you're shooting over it, there's no cover, height 0. We have buildings, so all the buildings are going to be height 4, and then the palisades, height 4 impassable, and then the palisades are obstacles. This is what we did for deployment. Now we are playing Plunder, which is basically like super loot. Instead of 3 tokens, there's 5? 5, yep. And the ones that are marked red are worth 2. We both elected 1 to be worth 2. So altogether there's 7 points available, and we want to grab those and run off with them, or at least hold them. I went first, and this is what I did. I moved forward. The hunters move forward very quickly through that rough terrain. The chariots are behind them, and the mammoths move up forward as well. No shooting from the mammoths because they moved at the double, but everything is in charge range right now, even the chariots behind them, so I can really get some major threats starting on turn 2. I figure I'm going to go ahead and take some shots on the melee guys in the front. I'm going to hope for the hunters to survive, both of them, because they're going to do really good against those undead. Undead hit on 4s, so that ensnare just really, really hurts them. Hitting on 5s just doesn't do much. But the boomers go ahead and stay behind that hill for 1 turn so that they can avoid getting shot. Don't have a lot of shooting, but I do take some lightning bolt shots into the skeletons there. They get Bane Chanted. She gets Bane Chanted by Namargok, and then I get 2 wounds on them. Of course, they're fearless. That's not going to do anything to them. They heal 1 from Iron Resolve, but I did get 1 wound to stick. So, not a great shooting turn, but it's what I got. Moving on to Tom's. Turn 2. He realizes that I can charge everything, so he moves backwards. That's what dojo players do on turn 1, if you ever play them in Texas. They're very patient, and they don't mind moving backwards if necessary. So he takes everything, mostly everything, and moves it back. He comes forward with the Revenant King on Worm, kind of threatening a flank, and then he pushes his Revenant King ever so slightly upwards in the forest so that he can get some shots off, and the whites come over in the forest, kind of setting up more flank shots. So he's getting himself in good distance. That Revenant King in the forest on the cav is just barely out of charge distance on those mammoths, so that's good. Alright, I've never seen a shooting undead list before, but here it is. So you can see that there's some pretty crazy shots coming at those hunters. I'll get to that in a minute, but first off, the Revenant King on the worm hexes Namargok, so that is successful. If he gets any successful casts next turn, he'll take a wound per successful cast. Yuck. Okay, so he takes his Necromancer with Bane Chant 7, and Bane Chants his Skeleton Archers, so they have Piercing 2 because they already had the Piercing item on them. And then he shoots his Balefire catapults, and 2 out of 3 of them hit, and he scores very high on his d6 plus 2, so I get just a ton of wounds into these hunters. Altogether, they take 10 wounds and break. Sad panda. This is going to be a rough fight.
All right, well, that was turn 1. I got the hits that I needed to take some of that pressure off and blew up his hunters. That was big for me. And so let's see what happens in turn 2.
All right, beginning in turn 2, I was looking pretty, I thought, before, because I had everything in charge range and was looking good, but now I'm a hunter troop down. I have heal I can't use because nothing is wounded anymore, because everything that got wounded is dead, and nothing can charge. I'm also looking at a flank charge from the Revenant King on the left, and if I move forward too much, these skeleton hordes are going to surge out of nowhere, because between Mortibrus and the Revenant Kings and the Necromancer, he has a ton of surge. He could just propel one of these skeletons all the way down. If I leave any sort of a flank open, or a possibility for a flank, even a way for him to move into a flank, I could get flanked by these skeletons, and that would really hurt. I move forward like this very cautiously. I keep the chariots behind. I have the hunters up there. They're in charge range. I know they can take a hit because of that ensnare that they have on them. The mammoths move forward. They are in a position, everything's now in a position to where if he moves back again, I can still charge him. So that's what I want. I want to definitely get the pressure on, because once I get in melee, I'm going to do very well. I move the boomers up as well, hopefully giving him a target-rich environment. Probably should have done that last turn in retrospect, because he could only shoot so many things and the rest of it needs to get in. Everything fires into that Balefire catapult. It's not the best target I have. I mean, what's the best target I have? It's not going to be like a glorious thing if I kill it, but that's at least one giant kind of iffy shot that I don't have to worry about. I really hate dealing with war machines, because when they hit, but you know, you can't, it's only a 1 in 3 chance, you know, you just don't know what's gonna happen. But getting rid of more of them means that the swinginess of this is gonna go away. Namrgok goes ahead and shoots his fire bolts into those skeletons. He's hexed, so if he casts spells, he won't be able to, he'll take wounds, but he's not casting spells. He's casting a firebolt, which is a shooting weapon, so hex doesn't do anything to that. Take that, Revenant King. Okay. I deal 4 wounds to the Balefire catapult. Very disappointing between all the fire that went into that. I shot 10 lightning bolts and then 4 war machines, 4 war machine shots from the mammoths. Should have gotten at least 1 hit with them, but it was just really terrible. I only got 4 wounds and it held. So, oh well. Goes into Tom's turn, and he's just looking at all sorts of stuff. So he goes ahead and charges forward with his skeletons and his wights into those hunters, hoping to maybe get some damage between the 2 of them. He moves his Revenant King all the way over to the left, looking at some very juicy flanks. And then he moves everything up just ever so slightly so that they are now in charge range for counter charges when I bust through the initial vanguard. Alright, he does cast heal into that Balefire catapult, heals all 4, the jerk, and then he also casts Guiding Light on my boomers on the hill. Guiding Light, of course, if he succeeds, and he did, all war machines get a +1 to hit. And shoots with them he does. All 3 of them beacon in on those boomers. Strangely enough, he didn't roll a 4, so it actually didn't come into play. But that does not mean to say that he didn't do well. He rolled a 5 and a 6 with one of his catapults, and he rolled a 1 on the other one, so he missed. But when he rolled 5 and a 6, he got, on those Balefire catapults, he got a lot of hits. And then the skeleton archers, realizing that 10 wounds have been dealt to those boomers, go ahead and shoot into the goblins in front of them, and they are bane-chanted by the Necromancer. This is some nasty shooting from an undead list. I've never seen this before. Namrgok is once again hexed by the Revenant King. 5 wounds to the goblins, 10 to the boomers. I have this marked, both of them as breaking. That's incorrect. The boomers actually hold here. They're fine. They're very, very hurt, but he rolls very low on the nerve check. The goblins, however, do exactly what goblins do best, and that is die. Die, die, die. Yeah, yuck. Okay. Between both of those guys, one of them, I can't remember if one or both, no, just one. The skeletons are hindered, and then they also came into ensnare, so they're hitting on 6s, and the wights are hitting on 5s. Hunters do what hunters do, which is survive. So I only take 5 wounds here and hold.
Well, the hunters held. That's something. It's looking pretty rough for the ogres, but let's see what we can pull off in turn 3.
Alright, I'm holding 2 loot tokens, and the big ones too. Of the 7 points here, I have 4. So I could literally just back up right now, but the problem is he can pursue. So I go ahead and do... I'm not saying this is a great call, but it's what I have. I'm completely surrounded. I can get shot to hell. I'm never going to survive all this shooting if I don't go in and bust stuff. He was very smart in keeping his archers out of range of my mammoths. So, at least the one on the left. So I go ahead and double charge into the skeleton horde here, hoping for the best. It's not a great call. But if I bust that up, I can at least start chewing stuff around. I move the boomers up to come get some crazy shots onto the skeleton archers, and I double charge the skeleton horde right there to make sure that I get some kills. If I can take all 3 hordes of skeletons down, I might be able to do something. Might. This is looking bad for me, but I'm trying to do my best here. I go ahead and heal the hunters, taking 2 wounds off, excuse me, and putting 2 wounds on to Namargok because of it, because he got hexed. That kind of sucks. My heal turned into Martyr's Prayer, but, you know, what can you do? I shoot the Fire of God into those skeletons right there, dealing 18 wounds between lightning bolts from my warlocks, 2 boomer hordes shooting into them, and the goblin regiment. Now you'll have to remember they are right next to Mortibus, so they're stealthy. I'm hitting on 5s or worse with the goblins against all of this, but with the number of shots, I'm hoping 18 is enough. But it's not. They hold, and to rub salt in the wound with Iron Resolve, heal 1. The jerks, they're down to 17, and I have nothing to show for all of my shooting that turn. I deal 9 wounds into the regiment here, and that's just not enough. They're going to hold and heal 1 again with Iron Resolve. However, I don't think anyone's surprised that I dealt a ton of wounds here. I dealt over their nerve and wounds and bust them. And then I realized a really bad thing. A very, very bad thing. I don't have a good way to get around this. If you see, my hunters and my chariots are just in each other's way. So I moved one of them back, hoping to maybe be able to move the hunters at least, but I didn't. So they're both just stuck. They can't do a thing. They're just exposing their flanks to everything that wants to eat them. He has his pick at whether he wants to kill the hunters or the chariots next turn. He can get greedy and try to get both, but he's got a lot of juicy flanks on them, and those trolls up there are in range too. This is just horrendous. I traded a chariot horde for a skeleton horde. That's not a good trade. Not a good trade at all. Because you know he's going to choose the chariots. I mean, come on. They're way better than the hunters. At least as far as damage output goes, and speed. Survivability, the hunters probably have them on. Which is another reason to kill the chariots. Tom's 3 here. He does some pretty nasty stuff, so get ready for some pain format. Alright, those trolls for the mammoth and the rider just barely in arc. I don't know if I noticed that or not. I knew to charge in. I was just hoping for the best. It was a Hail Mary. Probably shouldn't have done it. Looking backwards, I probably should have just backed up and hoped for the best. But, sheesh. So I'm going to take a flank charge there. There's just barely a flank. He comes into that mammoth. He moves his skeletons over because he couldn't have done that otherwise. And then he moves his skeleton archers in a charge to get out of their way too. But that leaves room for the trolls, and they get a flank charge there. Charges into the wights with the boomers. Probably doesn't need to do that, but he does. And, why not? I mean, otherwise they just move forward. He charges his Revenant King on Cavalry into the unwounded boomers to disorder them so that they can't shoot things. Overall, things are just looking nasty because on the left flank, he double charges the chariots, throwing trolls and wights into them, and then he flank charges the hunters with his Revenant King. I was looking at his list, and I was looking at the Revenant King on horse, thinking it was the Revenant King on wings. There's a large attack discrepancy there. So I thought I was going to be taking 10 hits on those hunters and thinking, yeah, they'll probably make it just fine. They'll take, 5 wounds or maybe 6 wounds and survive. No, we have 18 attacks because it has 9 attacks going into there, so that's going to be a bad game. He surges forward his skeletons, then he moved over to the left into my mammoth so that he gets some more wounds into it, hopefully killing it between the trolls and that, and he also heals them up, so he gets 2 wounds healed off of that skeleton horde. He shoots into my mammoth and finally decides to miss, dealing no damage at all. He, on the boomers right here, he gets 3 wounds onto him. Those boomers hold just fine, but they are disordered. He wavers my hunters over here with his Revenant Worm. That sucks. And he breaks my chariots. I don't think anyone's surprised by that. That's a lot of attacks going into them. They are gonzo. He kills the mammoth too. 16 wounds into that. It just can't take it. It's dead. Overall, I'm looking at a pretty nasty position right here at the beginning of turn 4.
Well, that was another big turn for the undead. Mortarbrist proved his worth as the skeletons survive the massive firepower of the ogres, and I'm in a pretty good position, just taking off three of Matt's big units. So let's see if you can come back in turn 4.
So turn 4, I'm looking at hunters wavered, boomers still can do something, but they're disordered. Have a few heroes that are out here and a mammoth that is absolutely surrounded. What am I gonna do? Not a whole lot. I take a charge with my mammoth into these skeletons. I pivot my hunters so that they aren't looking at flanks anymore, or as many. I got rid of as many as I could. Of course, it's undead, so he could always just move into the flank and then surge in. Why not? And I at least take solace in the fact that my goblins charge into a balefire catapult, hoping for a kill. If I was a smart player, I would have moved him over and tried to pick up a loot token, but at this point, I just want to take something down with me. So, I get, in shooting, I shoot Drain Life in 2 different spots. I shoot 2 into the Revenant King, healing 2 off of the boomers. And then over here with the skeletons that should have died before, I shoot Drain Life into them as well. I could have Lightning Bolted here, but Drain Life, I was within 6 inches on that corner past the trolls right here. So I was in range there and had line there, so I could actually shoot it with Drain Life, and since Drain Life has more attacks and doesn't take cover, it's a better hit. I ended up getting a lot of wounds on him, didn't have anything to heal, but it just was the better thing to attack, and I killed them. No nerve check, of course, on the Revenant King because he's in combat. This is the shining moment for ogres. In our greatest need, these goblins rose to the occasion, charged into the balefire catapult, and proclaimed victory! Goblins, these guys followed the major rule that goblins all have to follow, and that is, don't die. Very few succeed. These guys are goblins. They are heroes among goblins. These guys are heroes among goblins. However, we don't have luck anywhere else. I get 2 holds between the skeletons and the Revenant King and push back for some nasty stuff on turn 4. Alright, so Tom, looking at the jugular of my entire army, charges us forward. He puts his wights in the front of the hunters, he puts his Revenant King on the side of those hunters, and then he charges my Warlock, which I've moved to protect the flank of my Mammoth from the zombie trolls on the right. He takes his Revenant Cav and goes into the Warlock so that none of that pesky Drain Life can happen again. The wights over here, we're going to call it... We're going to call this the Surgeanigans section. The whites, because Tom is just a jerk, move over and instead of charging the boomers, move into the flank of the boomers and then are waiting for a surge to hit them. And then the zombie trolls over here, instead of overkilling the hunters down there, turn around and look directly at the juicy flank of the mammoth, waiting for another little surge push. He gets both surge pushes, and he gets both surge pushes, and it's going to be a nasty time. So I'm just going to take you into what I would like to call the montage of death. Dead. 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 At the end of turn 4, the ogres have nothing left. We have Nombergok surrounded by 5 assailants. A warlock looking at 4 assailants. Balefire catapults at the ready. And a regiment of goblins that have done their job and are totally running right now. It's time to call it quits, guys. There was no point in continuing. I resigned because with 2 turns left, at least 2 turns, possibly 3 turns in a tournament, I would be perfectly willing to resign here. There's absolutely nothing left to do. We hang our heads in shame, losing our first CoK19 battle. I'll try to make it up to you next time.
Okay, so not my best game. I'll say that. That was pretty rough.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly don't know where it went wrong for you.
Well, it didn't help that I lost the hunters on turn 1. It didn't help that my battle plan looked like a 5-year-old came up with it. And next time I play a dojo guy, I probably should make the list. I should probably take more than 3 minutes to make the list and just go with the concept of 2 of everything.
I'm half dojo. You don't have to do
that. You're the only dojo that's won a sports award, at least.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
No, it was all right. Your list was a resounding success, so I like it.
Yeah, I like it. The idea is just run the Army of Darkness formation with the skeleton hordes and all the catapults, and then just fill in from there. So it seems to do some work.
Yeah, for sure. And man, it was really hard to approach too. I'll say, coming in with that, I'm looking at it right now. You had 3 hordes, but I mean, you have what, surge on the skeletons at least. What does the necromancer have? How much surge does it have?
He has 8 plus 7, or I think it's 8 plus 7, so 15.
Yeah, so that's gross. And then you have extra surge somewhere else there too. So I was looking at like a careen across the board, cavalry charge. If I ever give you flank. So I didn't even know how to approach that when I was done. When I lost the hunter horde, I just didn't even know how to approach the unit. On turn 1, I pushed up and 5 of my things could charge you. I thought I was looking pretty, but then that was good. I've never seen a shooty undead list before. That's a new one.
Yeah, I'm thinking war machines are going to be big in this year with all the people taking new monsters and stuff. So that's also part of my theory for the list. So we'll see.
It's probably a good little counter here. And if everyone's bringing monsters, they have less attacks than normal too. Maybe very efficient attacks, but things like skeletons don't really care about something like that.
Yep, exactly.
It's pretty good. Well, that was pretty exciting. I hope everybody have seen my Universal Battle tutorial at this point, and this is a good game with Tom. Good way to get more games with people that you can't see normally. And thanks for coming on, Tom. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. I'm a big Universal Battle guy, so I'm on there all the time. And yeah, everybody needs to get on and play.
What's your handle, Tom?
It's Toman, Toman.
Awesome. Cool deal. If anyone sees him on there, give him a shout out. But for right now, guys, thanks for watching and stay saucy.
Happy sauce.